Oh, I won't stay on this screen, so hopefully the next one. Does yours look weird too, Gara? Maybe it's because of those things that shoot across the screen. I didn't know it was like when I created this, I didn't know it was like a moving one. Huh. How weird. Well, I'll talk about all the things. And I think it'll record on mine, right? Okay. All right, so we're gonna go over talking about buyer consultations and why it's important, what they should consist of, what your resources are to create them, and then going through, if we have time at the end, explaining what the different things mean to buyers in a way that isn't like pushy or invasive or just like too much, because many times when we do buyer consultations, obviously we don't want that to take like 2 or 3 hours. And with the amount of things that could potentially be in your buyer consultation packet, it could definitely take a little bit of time, just like a listing presentation. Moving on, importance. There's a lot of different reasons why it's important to make sure that you have a buyer consultation and that you actually take the time to sit down or even schedule like a Zoom or a phone call before showing houses. In terms of like getting leads, a lot of the time you'll get someone, say you get paid for like Zillow leads, they'll call and they'll be like, I want to see this house in 2 hours, and you won't necessarily have time to do like a buyer consultation. So in that case, I usually have some kind of checklist that I go through in terms of the most important questions, and then I'll usually bring my buyer consultation packet to be able to hand them something tangible when I meet them the first time, even if that's at a showing. If you have a little bit of flexibility or time to be able to do a Zoom call or like either meet them at the office, meet them for coffee, meet them at a Panera, you don't have to have it in like a super professional setting. It could be a more casual thing as well. But just making sure that you're having those conversations so you can set some expectations. I'd say the 4 main reasons why it's important to have a buyer consultation and to make sure you have those conversations. Discussing their needs and wants as your clients is really important, because part of your job is making sure that you fully understand what they're looking for and what they need and why. What's their motivation for wanting to buy a new house? Are they needing to sell a house? Do they have financing already? What's their time frame? Are they renting? And do they have a lease through a certain date? Because if they have a lease through the next 6 months, and they can't get out of it and they don't want to pay rent and their first month's mortgage, you probably want to wait 3 to 4 months to start showing them houses, so that, because they aren't going to end up paying their first month's mortgage for up to 60 days after closing. So timing that out appropriately and understanding how to do that. And in terms of just like the property itself, do they have kids and they need a specific number of bedrooms? Are they downsizing? Are they potentially going to have elderly parents living with them? Do they need an ensuite? Do they need a shop for like a workshop for their job? Do they need to make sure they have a first floor master because of whatever reason? Making sure that you're understanding what their needs are and why is really, really important. It also gives you the opportunity to explain the process and market trends. So a lot of people, most people, especially if they've never bought a property before, or if it's been like a really long time, like sometimes you'll have people that it's been 20 years since they bought or sold a house. The process is probably significantly different, just because of all the different resources and technology that we have now. And market trends are obviously really different. How many buyers do you have that are like, my dad told me that this house is way overpriced, and when he bought a house 10 years ago, the market wasn't like this. So agents are just saying that the market's really crazy for buyers. And it's like, you can actually show them through the MLS how quickly houses are selling simply by sending them sold properties. They can see that it went on the market and the next day it went pending. They can see that it was coming soon, and then the day that it went active, it was already under contract because someone bought it sight unseen. You can see actively the different price points in which a property was listed and then it sold $30,000 more. And you can see at the bottom under the sold information that it was cash. You can look up the different financing terms. You can see what percentage of buyers are paying cash. So it's really important to just have that conversation and prepare your client that we're in a seller's market right now, which means that it's extra competitive for buyers, which means that if you're not in a position to be able to go even a little bit over list price, or be flexible on closing, or potentially bring a difference in appraisal, this might not be the market for you to buy, and you might want to wait it out 3 to 6 months and see how it transitions over. It also gives you the opportunity to discuss mutual expectations. How do I win with you? How do I lose with you? Is there a certain way that you prefer to be communicated with? Are there certain hours that you're available for showings? Do you work full time during the day? Do you typically text early in the morning or in the evening, or do you prefer a phone call over text message? Do you prefer email? Just making sure that you set those expectations, and it's okay for you as an agent to set expectations as well in terms of how you run your business. Generally, nothing dire is going to happen after like 8 or 9 p.m. Even if you show a buyer a house that night, the likelihood of being able to get an offer over by 10:30 and get everything signed and done that night, I can almost guarantee you 98% of the time the seller's probably not even going to look at it. So there's no point in like rushing if people are in a super like quick rush to get things done. Just explaining that generally everything has a time frame within the contract, and we'll already know when I show you a house when offers are due, and we'll already know if we're going to need to like really rush to be able to get those things done, or to get an offer in. If they're not available until 5 p.m. and offers are due by 6, there's probably not any point in showing the house unless there's some flexibility, and that's a conversation you have with the listing agent. But just making sure in terms of how you run your business, what your availability is, if you have other things going on, making sure that they're somewhat aware of the fact that you have other commitments, you have other clients, you have other things going on, and you absolutely do your best as their agent to accommodate their needs based on their schedule, and also based on yours. And then understanding buyer agency and being able to explain what that means. Essentially, guys, what a buyer's agency agreement is the opportunity for you to represent them in a real estate transaction. And we'll kind of go over that towards the end, just because I know a lot of agents don't use buyer agency agreements. Some do. I'd say it's probably 50-50. And that is, I think most times when clients are committing to working with you, it's not a difficult conversation to have, just because you're able to basically explain that, I take on a certain number of clients so that I can give them all of my attention and do a really great job working with them. But in turn, my expectation is that they commit to working with me instead of working with multiple agents at the same time, just because I'm using my time and resources to make sure that you're getting great service. In the event that you feel like I'm not providing the service that I'm committing to you right now, and you decide that you want to work with a different real estate agent, all I ask is that you have that conversation with me, and I'm happy to release you from the agreement. I'm not going to keep you in something that you definitely don't want to be in. And if that's the case, in most cases, if they're feeling like they don't want to work with you, you're probably feeling the same way at that point. There usually would be something going on that would inhibit you guys from either being able to communicate effectively. Maybe your schedules don't align. Maybe you're just generally not getting along, or the expectations portion of your conversation didn't really go the way that you had hoped it would. So just making sure that you're explaining that in a way that it's not necessarily like pressuring or anything. It's just simply how you run your business. In terms of an actual buyer consultation packet, there's a lot of things that you can put in there information-wise. The first thing that you're always going to want to have in there is a branded cover sheet. It should always have your information. If you're on a team, it should have your team logo and or your team leader's information if you co-market or co-brand everything. And then obviously it should have the Keller Williams Living logo on there as well. You should have information about you and your business, basically just kind of how you run your business, what they can expect from you, whether you commit to being in communication at least once a week at a minimum, what you attend during the process, if you attend all your inspections, if you attend closing. A lot of agents don't, but if that's something that you want to do to go above and beyond and make sure that you're holding their hand the entire way, you're welcome to. So pretty much anything about you, you can put like a resume of sorts in there. If you've been in real estate for X amount of years, you can put your sales from the past few years. You can put reviews in there, anything like that. Or if you if you went to college previously and have a degree in marketing, and you want people to know that you're an expert person, you're an expert in marketing or luxury marketing or whatever it might be. Whatever you want to put in there, it is somewhat of like a resume type document. Company information. So we'll kind of go through that when we look through the buyer consultation in command. You're definitely going to want to have some information on like the background of your company and what we stand for and that kind of thing. What to expect from you overall in terms of just communication, expectations. You can even put your availability on there if you want to, or just generally how you run your business. The process timeline, so from beginning to end, what that looks like. So essentially that could be starting with getting pre-approved. Hi. Yeah.
Oh, I can't. Well, I can't. Are you handing out or any kind of, can I see this one? Was it being recorded or anything? Can I watch this?
It's being recorded.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Because I'm always looking like this is about buyer packets, right?
Yep, it's about creating buyer consultation packets. So if you want to come sit in, you're welcome to, but otherwise it'll be recorded.
Let me tell you that if not, then I definitely want to get.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. And then, so the process timeline, so starting obviously first things first is usually getting a pre-approval. At that time, you'll know what their budget is and making sure that you set up an MLS portal for them, starting to do showings once they find a property that they love, writing offers once they get that accepted, earnest money and scheduling inspections, appraisals, clear to close, just kind of going through that entire thing. Oh, there's a typo on here. Sorry. That should say should. And then lender and financing information. If you have any preferred lenders that you work with that you have maybe a flyer for, that's great. If you have any type of documentation, like explaining the different types of loans that are available potentially, that's great. But just making sure that you have some kind of information, or you could just separately, if you don't want to have that in here, you don't have to. You can send them like your list of 3 lenders, making sure that obviously compliance wise that you're sending 3 contacts or 3 recommendations at a minimum. It's not a bad idea either. I'll show you a packet that I had created and used previously and that I provide for the coaching program agents. But it's going through, it's like the 10 commandments of loans. And so it's like, don't open up a credit card, don't buy a car, don't co-buy something with someone that hits your credit, don't have your credit pulled, don't go crazy buying furniture, all the things that you basically should not do in the process of purchasing a house. And so it's really good to go over that. It happens, I promise you. I had a buyer literally last month that 4 days before closing, she opened up a $300 credit card. I'm like, first $300, like, I don't know why you would even do that. But second, like, you know that it had to pull your credit. They had to redo her loan. She almost didn't close. I had another buyer that had mattress money, and obviously any like large sums of cash that a buyer has, they have to be able to trace where it came from. So while you're in the process of purchasing property, your buyer can't just like take mattress money or money that doesn't have like an actual place where it came from, deposit $10,000 and just be like, oh, I just have $10,000 more now, because that's going to red flag a lender. I had a guy do that and then spend $5,000 on furniture at Target. And the lender was like, you literally have to go return every single thing that you just bought or you can't get a loan. So it happens. And us as agents, we see this all the time. So we think that it's something that people just know generally, but I promise you that they don't. So make sure you have those conversations too. You get to do a needs and wants analysis, which is really great. So I usually print out just like a cute sheet that has like, how do I win with you? How do I lose with you? How do you prefer to be communicated with? And then also the second sheet is if there were 3 things that are a must have in your new home, what would those be? And then the second part is if there were 3 more things that you'd like to have in your home, what would those be? And then the last part is if there are any deal breakers on should or shouldn't haves, what would those 3 items be? And then that way, that gives them the opportunity to talk about what they need within the house and why, which helps you be able to determine as you're going through like listings. Like I've made it a habit every morning and every evening, at least multiple times a day, to go through the new listings list on the MLS if I have clients that are actively looking, because I know exactly what they're looking for. So I'll look through pictures and I'll look through the information and make sure that before I even send it to them, that it's along the lines of like what they need. You can do sheets on why you should work with a realtor. You can look up information. I have like a sheet that's like 7 reasons to work with a realtor. Testimonials and reviews. So if you have past clients that have left you reviews online, do just a page with like the best like 3 to 5 reviews that you've had from past clients. You don't need to change them regularly. You don't have to put a date as to when they closed. They're still going to be your past clients 2 years from now. If you want to update them, of course, go for it. But you can do market trend articles. Literally all you have to do is just Google Cleveland real estate market trends. Guaranteed there's going to be an updated article on like cleveland.com, some sort of like real estate related platform. And then I usually just copy and paste it into a Word document, and then I'll print them out and put them in my buyer packets. A moving guide or a moving checklist. So what that could look like is actual moving guides, things to make sure that they prepare within the home, reminders of transferring utilities and that kind of stuff. And then I also provide them with a checklist of all the different things that they should be making sure that they update their address on. So that could be like memberships of sorts, schools, post office, utility companies, really anything that they are like registered with, they're going to want. So it's just like a long page list of all the things that they can update their address on. I do a sheet on frequently asked questions, just kind of going through like, what are the biggest questions that people have? It could be things like, what's earnest money? Or how long does it take typically to buy a home? How long does that process take? What's the first thing that I should be doing? Is it okay to work with multiple agents at the same time? If something comes up on inspection, can I back out? Making sure that you're addressing all of those. What if the house doesn't appraise? What does that look like? How does closing work? When should I schedule my moving van? All of those things that people don't generally like know, and many times you don't actually have a lot of those conversations throughout the process. So making sure that they're written down somewhere. And honestly, I usually just sit down and put myself in a buyer perspective, walk through the transaction and think like, what would my biggest questions be if I were a buyer right now? And then making sure that you have a copy of the consumer guide in there for them to sign, or sending it to them right after your buyer consultation so you have it on file in .loop. And then also having a buyer agency agreement. If you don't want to use buyer agency agreements, again, you don't have to, but obviously they're highly recommended to use. Does anyone have any questions about these things? And I'll show you the ones that I've created too, so that you can kind of see just like an idea of what it could potentially look like.
When you were talking about a resume of how many of your past sales,
Mm-hmm.
How does that work with a team?
You could do just like your team sales. Mm-hmm. Or you could do your individual sales, like each agent could have their own individual sales on there, and have like custom packets geared towards each agent if you wanted it to. But honestly, one of the biggest benefits of a team is being able to use that experience for your benefit, basically. So having the team's sales in there is not a bad idea to do. All right, and then in terms of resources, we'll go through each one of these so that you can kind of see what's available on them. These are the main ones that I use. So Command Design, there are multiple templates in there in terms of actual buyer consultations. I don't use only that just because I like to design some of my own stuff. So Canva is a really great resource for being able to create and design, and you can always just get like content. I usually get my content either from Etsy or from Pinterest. You can literally go on Pinterest and type in buyer consultation, and it will give you a ton of different ideas of things that you could put in there. And then if you just open it up, there's already like verbiage and stuff on there. Take a lot of it, take the different ideas, put it together how you like it. And then Etsy already has like pre-created packets that you can purchase and download. And then you can upload like our Keller Williams Living logo, and then you can edit to customize it however you like it. But they're all like pre-created, and they're usually between like 15 and 30 pages of content, which is great. And it walks you through the entire process of buying. So it's really nice to be able to have that too. So what I'm going to do first is show you guys where to find in Command Design all of the information that you have access to in terms of that. So if you log into your command, the third from the bottom is Designs tab. And then in the top right, you'll just go to Create Design, and you'll want to click Print because it's going to be something that you want to print as a PDF. And then over here on the left-hand side are all of the different topics that you could, you have available for different marketing materials. So generally you're going to want to click Buyer and then Buyer Presentation. And there's all these different templates that you can use. So we're just going to do a simple one. We'll use this one. So on the top right, you'll just hover over it and click Use. And it has all of this information in here already pre-created, and you can edit it however you need to. This is, do you guys see how many pages are in here? This is a ton of information. So in order to add it to save, to edit it and save, here in the top left is a plus button. So you have to add the page. So this doesn't automatically use all of these pages. And you can see here on the right-hand side, you can move them as well, but you can see here on the right-hand side what your packet looks like. So you'll go through and add the ones that you want to use. I don't know why it has this blank one. So on the front sheet, obviously, you can put your first name and last name. And then you can just put like your information. And then obviously you'll switch this out with our logo, and you can take that out. Unless you have a team, you can replace that with like your team logo. And then you'll make this custom prepared for your client. So let's just say Joe Smith, great. You can keep this picture, or if you wanted to do just like a different stock photo. Most of my like consultation packets and listing presentations, I just generally use stock photos, unless it's like for a listing presentation, obviously if I don't have a picture of their house, I'll get a Google view and I'll screenshot it on my phone and then upload that image of their house. And then you can put your headshot there. Put your information down here. Templates, table of contents would be a great thing to do next. Your dream home, your preferences, your neighborhood, buying 101, at your service, my promise, glossary. Great, you don't really have to do much to that. A sound decision, going over just like the decision of investing and purchasing your own home. If there's anything that you want to add or edit on there, just go through, read it, and then edit it appropriately. Commit it, this is like the expectations, their needs come first. This is basically your fiduciary duty. Visualize your dream home scenario for buying your home. What's the one thing that has to happen to make that dream scenario a reality? So these things are great to have in here. Building a preference profile. So this is kind of going over their needs and wants analysis. So when's the best way and time for me to contact you? That's all in here. And then building a preference profile. Who will I contact if I need something? What time frame are you in? Have you looked into getting pre-approved for a home loan? Have you thought about the price range that you'll be comfortable with, which obviously that'll be set if they've already talked to a lender. And then if I found you a home today that checked all of your boxes, would you see yourself moving sooner than later? Adding your home wish list. So this basically goes over what their actual needs are. So in using this one that's like pre-curated, You don't have to create like a needs and wants analysis separately. You can go through all of this and then just take notes as you have this conversation. Second page of wish list. Third page of wish list. And fourth page of wish list. So you go over the whole thing. If you want to do like a neighborhood preference, you can include that if you want to. You don't have to. Getting to know the neighborhood. If they're like looking in a specific area, it might be good to include this. If they're not and they're like super broad in what they're looking for, you don't have to include neighborhood information. Map your move. This is being able to talk about like best time to buy and kind of the expectation with what the market looks like. Again, neighborhood insights if they're looking in a specific area. This is a big one, how buying a home works. So this is like the overall process of what that looks like for them. So this is multiple pages as well. So this goes through partnering with an agent, which of course would be you, getting your pre-approval with a lender so they could use, if they have like a bank or a credit union or someone that they prefer to work with, great. Obviously, we always prefer as agents for them to work with our preferred lenders or our preferred partners because we already know how they work and we trust them with our clients. And expressing that to them is totally okay. I always say you're welcome to work with whoever you'd like to work with. I want you to feel the most comfortable, and if that's what working with your bank or someone there because your money is already there, that sounds great. Just know that sometimes banks don't always have as many programs available because it's per that specific bank as opposed to a mortgage broker who has access to multiple loan types because they end up selling the loan. And it's okay. And you can say, I'll send you information on like the 3 top lenders that I would recommend working with. I've worked with all of them and they're all fantastic. If you decide that you don't want to call them, that's totally fine. Finding your new home. So of course, doing your needs and wants analysis with them, setting up a home search portal in the MLS, or if there's another platform that you end up using. I usually do the MLS portal because I find it to be the easiest and it's the most up-to-date information and you can send it to them in real time. So if their search, when you put it in, comes up with like 300 listings because it's just super broad what they're looking for, I would probably only schedule to send it like once a day so it won't come to them in real time. If you have it coming to them like ASAP and have it set that way, every time there's a new listing, it's going to come into their email separately. So they're going to go in their email and there's probably going to be like 100 or like 50 a day, which they're going to be like, guys, please scale it back. I don't want all of these different emails. It's hard for them to keep track too. Once they find the house that they love, making the offer and negotiating the terms. Once they're under contract. And I would make sure that you read through all of these too, and that you take out anything that doesn't apply to the process or it's something that you don't necessarily find to be like a very important note for them to keep in mind. But this is just kind of like a nice checklist, even like closing day, government issued photo ID, social security number, home addresses from the last 10 years, proof of your homeowner insurance. They probably don't need their checkbook, but they would, if it's under $10,000, they'll want to bring their cashier's check. If they're wiring a check, make sure that they initiate, or if they're wiring the funds, make sure they initiate it the day before. If they're bringing a check, I would recommend probably getting it the day before or as soon as, once they get their final cash to close number. And then closing day, a lot of agents don't attend closings. Some do. If you prefer to do that, that sounds great. Title transfer, keep in mind that on closing day too, that you're explaining that signing and actual title transfer are 2 different things and they happen at 2 different times. So even though they're signing, say at like 9 a.m. on title transfer day, that doesn't mean that they're going to get keys at 9 a.m. Many people don't know that. Most people don't know that. So making sure that you're effectively explaining the fact that if they're planning like a moving van, they should probably plan on being able to access the property around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Financing your future home. So just some information on different types of financing and why that's important, things that they should be able to provide to the lender. Real value experience. So this is basically our Y4C2Ts, which is essentially like our Keller Williams like motto, what we live by. And you can change these appropriately based on your numbers. In the event that you're a brand new agent and you don't have these numbers, you can just delete all these. You don't have to put them in there. My competitive advantage, proof is in the numbers, again with numbers. You can keep all this. Industry insider, local expert, tech enabled. And you don't have to like read through each thing with them either. I would just touch base on like the main points and let them know like you're going to get to keep this packet. It's just some light reading. So if you want to actually read through the rest of it, I just want to briefly touch base on the things that I find are most important and most helpful for my clients. Your trusted partner, so basically what they can expect from you. My promise, these are different client testimonials, so you can update those appropriately. My promise to you as a client, so again, more on your commitment and how you work with them. Your commitment to the community, just basically how we give back. Red Day, enriching our community, and then if there's anything that you focus on in terms of community service, donations, partnering with certain companies, you can put that in there too. Searching safely, so this kind of just touches base on making sure that you're keeping them safe. You can do socially distant tours, you can do FaceTime or Zoom tours if people don't want to go out in public. You can give them access to my KW app so you know what they're looking at, and then you can do contactless transactions. So obviously that includes Loop, electronic signature database, and not having to actually do, really if they don't want to do anything in person, they don't have to. This entire transaction can be completely virtual. Their bottom line, basically just stating that real estate's complicated. This is where you come in, and that you would absolutely love to work with them. There's information on the Kelly app, commonly used terms. That's a huge one to include in here. I would definitely make sure you have that in there, because a lot of people don't know what these things are, and it's really helpful for them. And then here's how you can get in touch with me. This ABA is not our Ohio Real Title ABA, but if you wanted to include any ABAs in the packet, you can do that. And then obviously printing out a consumer guide and buyer agency agreement would be great as well. I'll show you guys some things that I've created for my marketing. Sorry, it's taking a second to open. Okay, I don't know why that's taking a minute. Okay. I just did an update to my computer, so it's being a little weird. Let's see if it works there. Great. So I had just like looked up on Pinterest, like 7 reasons to work with, or like why use a real estate agent. And then I just created a PDF sheet in Canva, just explaining that we're expert guides. We have objective information and opinions, property marketing power, negotiation knowledge, up-to-date experience, where they're rocked during the emotional moments, because obviously for some people this can be like very difficult in terms of an experience. They might be leaving a place that they really love. They might not necessarily be wanting to move, but kind of forced to. You never know what people's situations are. You'll probably learn what it is so that you can handle it appropriately in terms of like an emotional scale or, you know, that kind of thing. And then ethical treatment and just being ethical in what you're doing, having their best interest in mind. Frequently asked questions I had created previously as well. My goodness, why? Oh, no, I didn't want to do that. I'll put it open. That's fine. How long does a transaction take to close? What's the first step? When should I start looking at houses in person? What's earnest money and do I get it back? What happens if something comes up in inspection? What if appraisal comes in above or below purchase price? Can I visit the house before title transfer? When can I have the keys? And what are closing costs and how much do they cost? Those in my mind were like the biggest things that people just generally didn't really know how to handle throughout the process. So I just put them all on paper. My reviews. I had an extra sheet. Why is that open? That's not what I opened. Here we go. That's not either. Sorry, this thing's all messed up. Because I just like some of the pages to look like somewhat custom. So sometimes I'll just like do a basic one in Command and then incorporate my things like at the end. Five-star reviews, so recent reviews from my clients. And I like to have just like cute stock photos in the back just so it looks nice. Moving checklist. So this has all the things that they're basically going to want to make sure that they're calling or accessing online to be able to change. Utilities, insurance companies, business accounts, clubs and recreational activities, anything government issued, professional services, and any subscriptions that they have. And then I also wanted to show you guys too, if you like things that look like a little bit more like personally curated or like you created it rather than like not necessarily as like, I don't want to say like less professional, but less like business like and a little bit more like design oriented, you can just search like buyer guide real estate. I love these. So you can get like, that one's really expensive, but say you just want to get like a basic seller guide and buyer guide. It's like $30. You'll have access to all of the things so that you can edit it. You can upload all of your, so it comes with like a ton of different information. So this is like photos and showings checklist, meeting the team if you have a team, pre-listing prep, pricing. So this is for sellers, but they have seller guides and buyer guide templates that walk them through the entire transaction. So contents, meeting their team, finding their dream home, preparing to buy, finding their dream home and what that looks like in terms of their needs and wants, making an offer, under contract, what it means to be an escrow, final steps before closing, clear to close, success stories, and trusted vendors. So this buyer's guide is 28 pages. So I personally think that this is a really good investment in terms of just like being super low cost and it being somewhat like curated and a little bit more of like an actual, like a design. But if you like the designs on command and you don't want to pay for anything, easy to use. Same with Canva. So like you can actually create your own. So all of the content that's in like the command buyer consultations, you can literally just take it and create your own. There's a ton of different templates and all you would have to do is just pick a design you like. So say you want your thing to look like, your front page to look like that. You could do find a home of a stock photo, put that in there. Move it over. Jeez. Easy. And then just add logo. How easy is that? I mean, it literally, yeah, like it doesn't take long at all to be able to like create this content. And especially if you already have like the actual content written out somewhere, but you wanted it to look different and you just wanted to create it yourself and have it branded like truly towards like you. Super easy to be able to create something like this. You could probably spend like an hour, hour and a half and just create your entire buyer consultation. And then you just add a page. You can find another template. So say you wanted to start with like, and you can change all the colors on here too. So you can put like about me. And then you can replace that with your logo. Put a picture of a nice kitchen in there. Change this background color. Maybe do like a gray, or like a light gray, and then black letters. And then just take the content from the other thing and copy and paste it into here.
You're an expert.
I've been using this for like years, so but it's also nice because this helps you familiarize yourself with this type of platform too. And we do also have other videos on our website on how to use like social media and like Canva and different design platforms and stuff too. So if you're ever unsure, or you could ask me. Kate is an expert with Canva too. She's really great at that, and same with Gara. So if you ever have just any like general questions on how to, we all know how to use this pretty well. And then is there anything within like the actual buyer consultation packet information wise that you guys have questions on, like how to explain, or if there's anything that you're not sure if you should include or not include, anything like that? I was like, where is everyone? Here we go. Hi. Who's chatting? Well, I'm still the only one talking, but we're chatting. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Did you find this to be helpful?
I thought it was very helpful.
Good.
I did not realize that there was something in command.
Yeah.
And then it seemed very easy to work with.
Yep. Super easy to customize. And then to save that too, I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. So say this is like exactly how you want it. And you can, like I said, you can move the pages. So if you feel like you want your needs and wants analysis to come first instead of like kind of in the middle, you can just move things around just by clicking and dragging. And then when you're done, just click download and you can, it'll say PDF for printing, or you can do it as like a JPEG, PNG, but I would do PDF for printing because obviously you're going to print it. And then if there's only, say you like you created all of them, but for a certain person, you wanted to like shorten it up, or whatever scenario that might be, you can just click specific pages. So you don't have to print all of them at the same time if you don't want to. If you do and you just want it as one full packet, just download it. And then let's see if it went to my downloads. Nope. I think it's still loading because my computer is like really loud right now. But it should download as a PDF just to your downloads on your computer, and then you can open it as a PDF and then print it. What I usually do in terms of like preparing for this, I usually get like a little bit nicer paper, and I'll print it on like just maybe a little bit heavier than like normal paper, especially if you print it double-sided. That way you won't be able to see through it and it won't kind of like ruin the visual of it. And then I ordered, in order to be able to bind it and it actually looked like a book, on Amazon, they have those like clear protectors with the things that slide on the end. You can fit like up to 30 pages in those, I think. So I usually get those. If I use like any kind of actual moving guide or anything like that from like another company, I'll usually create like a co-branded cover sheet. And then in that case, if I have like a bit more than like 20 to 30 pages, I'll use a thin binder and I'll just hole punch, and then I'll create like a cover sheet to go in the front so that it looks more professional like that too. Always make sure that if you have buyer consultation packets or like listing presentation packets, if you have other marketing materials like sports calendars or just like an overall annual calendar or notepads that are branded to you, make sure you put those in there too, because people love just like getting things like that. And then also make sure you have a business card in there too. Even though your information's in there, sometimes people just like to have that, or maybe they keep that and they know someone else that's potentially looking to buy or sell and they can give it to someone else. What I usually order in terms of marketing to put into all of my packets is on Magnets USA. They have, I'll actually show you what I usually get just like generic magnets. And so it'll be like notepads, and I usually just get like the to-do ones. But there's a ton of different options on here. So I usually get these. You can get them made and branded, or these ones, this like white piece, this is like super sticky. So you can put your business card on there. So I prefer these ones just in case I ever update my business cards, that I'm not stuck with like 300 already like permanently branded items. And then on the back, it has like kitchen conversions. So they'll probably end up keeping it after. And then they also have house passwords on here too. So even once they use all of the little, like the actual notepad, there's still things on there. So I don't know. Let's see how much 300 is. 35 cents each. And you could always like split this with someone too. So say you don't want to incur the entire cost, but you want to like buy in bulk, find like 2 or 3 other agents that are wanting to like split them, because these aren't branded to anybody. Anyone can use it because they just put their own business cards on it. I know I have a, maybe I don't have it in an account. Let's see how much that is. Either way. So yeah, there's just a ton of resources and options in terms of being able to put one of these together. And if anyone has any questions on like how to explain certain things, or if there's something else that you're not sure if you should put in or how to create it, or if there's any specific verbiage that you're going to want, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to like talk to you about it. But it's a really great thing to do, just because I think that it overall sets the expectation of what to expect for them. And then being able to do that too, when it comes to like offer time, they won't be able to say like, well, I didn't realize the market was like this, or like, I didn't know that there were closing costs associated with buying a house. I just thought it was a down payment. Or like, I didn't know that I'd have to put like money up front as earnest money, even though you get it back. So it really alleviates a lot of those things of just like people just generally not knowing what the process looks like, which I would say is like 80% of people. Most people, there's no reason for them to know these things. They don't do it regularly. We do. That's why we know these things. So that's why it's important for them. And another reason too, if they're unsure about working and committing with one person, it's important to point out that if they work with multiple agents, it's hard for each agent. Like they're going to have to explain to each individual agent what they're looking for. They're going to be doing the same process over and over and over again. So it's definitely in their best interest as a buyer to have that relationship with one agent that actively knows what they're looking for and can actively be engaged in helping them find that, rather than a bunch of different people that are just going to like randomly show them a house here and there, and probably not put too much effort into actually learning and like talking to them about what they need. So I hope that this was helpful for everybody. Does anyone have any questions before I let you go? I'll stop share. Nothing? Alrighty. Well, I hope you all have a fantastic day. If you need anything, feel free to reach out and let me know. I'm always happy to help. And hopefully I'll see you all at the stakeholder meeting in a half hour.
Thank you.
Of course. Did that not stop? It did stop. All right. Have a good day, everyone.